With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
At some point in time, you and me both are going to experience mountains that seem impossible to navigate. With that in mind, today, we're going to look at 3 mountains, and we're going to find how we can take hope out of the middle of the despair that these mountains throw our way. What's up, EveryWarrior family? Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. My name is Trey, and I get the honor of welcoming you to our very first episode of Truth Be Told right here on the Warrior Network. Yes, this is our brand new home for all of our digital content made available for you whenever you need it and wherever you need it. Hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an upcoming episode. And once again, thanks for being here. At the top of this episode, you heard a quote that ended with these 10 words: out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. I want you to go back with me to early 1960s. I want you to imagine what it must have been like to live through what would become known as the Civil Rights Movement. I want you to picture your grandparents, your parents that are out there willing to give everything for even the slightest nod of equality. The unrest, the cruelty, the pain, the fear. I want you to picture that. Now I want you to look a little closer, and I want you to see a guy who has decided, you know what? I'm not going to sit down. Like others, like many others, he has decided, I'm not going to just take this anymore. I want you to go to that coffee shop or the back seat of that car that he's riding in. I want you to imagine that hotel room where he's staying, and he is pouring his heart out onto paper. He's getting what's in his heart out. He's giving words to the dream that he has. These words were part of that. What would become one of the greatest speeches that America, our country, our world has ever heard. He had to be experiencing the greatest dichotomy, the fear mixed with the dream, the passion, the anxiety mixed with a hope that he could experience something different. The hope for his kids that he mentions in his speech that he has, that's mixed with a world that says, no, you are not worthy. Your people are not worthy of the equality that you're fighting for. You know, the word hope is defined as a feeling of expectation, a desire for certain things to happen. He knew that even though society said otherwise, he expected something different. That was enough to drive him to not just take chances, not just rally the troops, but to eventually give his life for this dream, this hope that he had. And to him, it was worth every single expense that it cost. He had hope, but he also was looking at a pretty big mountain of despair. This mountain that he can't even begin to see through, around, or above. Me and my family, we're going to Colorado Springs in a couple weeks. I am terrified already of the idea of going up Pikes Peak. Your boy right here is terrified of heights. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I've been up Pikes Peak one time. The higher we got, I moved from the outside seat in the back to the inside seat, and then by the time we got to the top, I was like on the floorboard. Me and heights do not get along. That mountain in and of itself is nothing compared to the mountain that stood in the way of everything that he saw possible. You know, with all that in mind, I'm pretty much willing to bet that you're probably experiencing one of what I would say 3 mountains in your own personal life today. You may very well find yourself like me, 2012, 13, 14. That mountain is one of grief. It's personal. It is not something that's heaped on you by the outside world and built up to tear you down. No, it is something that maybe mistakes have caused. It is one that grief has caused. My personal mistakes, the grief of loss, the questioning of, am I making right decisions, of not really having purpose. All of these things created in me a mountain of depression and anger, and it literally almost drove me to suicide. But with that, the hope that was inside of that mountain, I couldn't really see, but people around me could, my wife in particular. And you know what? She began helping me chisel out that mountain into what today is a stone of hope. And you know what? That mountain still gets chiseled on. But that stone is what actually leads me to that second mountain, which is that mountain that I see that may not affect me really at all, but it affects the people around me. There's something that you see, that you believe that you could influence, that you could help. There is not necessarily an injustice, but maybe a lack. For instance, for us, for the network, for me, I see the lack of family around service members and the isolation. That is the mountain that we are seeing right now in you. What is the mountain that you see in the people around you? When we talk about influence your world, this is what we mean. You very well may be standing with your back to Pikes Peak because you might have conquered that mountain, but you're standing there looking west, and guess what? You're just on the front range. That front range of the Rocky Mountains is behind you, but you've got mountains in front of you that are even bigger. These mountains are where change happens because of the mountain that you went through first. You know, today, my own personal experience helps me exponentially. That's why I'm not afraid to talk about it anymore or to hide it, because you know what? That mountain doesn't have power over me today. How can that stone that you may be chiseling out right now of that first mountain be the stone that's going to give you the hope that you can use to influence? And then that third mountain is that mountain that Dr. Martin Luther King was conquering. His own personal experience had led him through this path. Pikes Peak is behind him. The next range of mountains is behind him, and he's looking on further, and he sees something even bigger. He sees where society needs to change. What is that in you? And I'm not saying that everybody's going to conquer this mountain. Some of us may never even experience it, but you might just be that one that does experience this mountain. And you have a dream. You have something inside of you that says, you know what? I'm not going to sit down and allow it to happen anymore. It may cost me my life, but it's worth it. So today, wherever you might be in this journey, I want you to look around. I want you to look in. I want you to look around you and find people of peace that can help you. People that love you, that listen to you, and that want to help you. They're around you, especially if you're on that first mountain. And then look inside of you. And I want you to define, what is that thing that you're passionate about? What is that thing you love? What's that thing you would want to do if money wasn't a problem and failure wasn't possible? What is it? And I want you to begin to dream. I want you to begin to dream, and I want you to make that dream personal. Just like Martin Luther King Jr. said that he dreamed of a day where his 4 children could walk hand in hand and play with other children of other races. I want you to make that personal. This is not a race. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and you're not in it alone. You will not conquer mountains by yourself. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20. Well, today, as we look back, we can see that we have been handed, as society, a stone of hope that began to be chiseled back in the 50s, in the 60s, to where today, yes, we still have problems. There is still injustice. There is still pain and hatred and bigotry. And I believe that every single one of these things should be eradicated from our society. However, we cannot lose hope because we see problems. We have to carry that stone until the day when either God calls us home or we see it eradicated. The same thing is possible in your own life for whatever it is that your own personal experience, your own personal mountain is or has set you up for. And may the growth that happens from the experience, may the voices, the people, the herd around you be enough to prove to you that you can begin to speak. You can begin to use your voice and should begin to use your experience. And that battle cry, that I have a dream, may very well echo through all of eternity.